Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. We're tracking severe storms moving through the area right now. You can see on WCNC Doppler radar here, we've got quite a few storms out there right now. The one that I've been watching the closest is an ongoing microburst, which is occurring in parts of Cabarrus County. If I turn the lightning off, you could see this is right around Concord, Poplar Tent area. Let's go right into the velocity data because this area near 85 and Poplar Tent, Cox Mill area, there are 70-mile-an-hour winds in this, right around Kings Crossing Drive, 72-mile-per-hour winds. These are straight line winds, but remember, it doesn't matter. Wind is wind. So these are going to be impacting structures, homes, roofs, power lines, tree branches. So likely some significant damage occurring right now along 85 in Cabarrus County. That is a significant downburst, now microburst. You see how vivid that looks, and that's what we've seen in most of these storms. We got another smaller one near Mountain Island Lake, and then moving into Mecklenburg County, some pretty strong winds. A lot of straight line wind damage with these storms today. There's nothing rotational, there's no tornadoes, but remember, these are bigger areas. Tornadoes are very narrow, so these microbursts take much larger areas and cause much bigger swaths of damage. So let's go into that area right there. Basically, you're looking for areas, Poplar Tent Road, right around Derby Lane, northwest. That's Woodhaven Place, northwest, Shelton Drive. So there's likely going to be some damage occurring in this area. If I go back to the other, just moved a little bit. Let's go back one frame because I want to look at that one frame earlier. Right there, just curious how fast those winds were right in that area. Right around 72 miles per hour. So that's pretty significant wind damage occurring there in Cabarrus County. And again, these storms tend to unleash a really big burst of wind and rain, and then they move on. So let's widen this out. We'll go back to the radar, kind of break down all the warnings. We've got several in effect. We've got Alexander, Catawba, Iredell County till 4:30. That storm is pushing off to the south and east. And again, these aren't moving particularly fast. What's been happening with most of these storms, they've been firing up, they've been drifting, basically pushing out outflow, and then new storms have been forming on their outflow. So if you're tracking the individual storm, it's probably not so much the storm you should be tracking, but the outflow. And I'll show you what I mean by that. If we look at the outflow boundaries coming out of the upstate, you see that area right there, basically this little line. This is basically an outflow boundary. So new storms are likely going to form in there. The strong winds coming out of these storms, and that's what I expect across the Piedmont of North Carolina. We're probably going to see new storms develop. You can see the severe thunderstorm warning that includes parts of York County, South Carolina, and Union County, South Carolina. That's until 4:45 as well. My computer goes up pretty loud right there, but look at all the cloud and ground lightning. The lightning is actually obscuring the view here. When I see a lot of lightning on the radar like this, one thing we know that's happening, this has got a very tall top on it. We're getting up and we're getting ice crystals forming at the top. Now, I'm just turning the lightning off briefly because there's so much of it, but you can see this storm is actually taking up parts of southwest Rowan County around the Kannapolis area, Concord, Poplar Tent, Mount Pleasant, Harrisburg, right around the Speedway, and this one's drifting towards the southeast. So if I loop this a couple times, you kind of get the idea. It's just kind of drifting slowly but surely to the southeast. Just to give you some perspective on how tall this storm is, we'll take our Doppler slicer here and we'll kind of give you an idea, a cross-section of this thing, because it is a monster storm. I'm going to put the cross-section right there, and we'll kind of look at how big this is. So it's got one of those overshooting tops, looks like right there, going up to around 60,000 feet. No wonder there's so much cloud-to-ground lightning in there. That is an impressive storm. Again, that overshooting top, what I'm referring to is this right here. You see this little appendage coming up above the storm there. That's going between 50 and 60,000 feet tall. And up there, you know, the temperature is 20, 30, 40 below 0 Celsius. So you're getting some really big ice crystallization up there. That's what's creating all that static charge, which is creating the electrical charge that we see as lightning. So that's a pretty impressive storm. And no wonder we're seeing the downburst signature showing up on the radar. If we kind of loop this back, I'm kind of curious to see, it just moves out of frame there. But you get the idea that when you see storms getting that tall, you're taking that hot, humid air that we had today, which, you know, was mid-90s. Dew points were in the mid-70s. You're taking that hot, humid air up to that cold, dry part of the atmosphere, and that's typically when you're going to see the significant downburst, because that air is going to come rushing to the ground. Now, in and around Charlotte, we have non-severe storms currently. on the northwest side of town, Mount Holly, Belmont. But I wouldn't be surprised to see new storms develop. Look at the new storms developing on the outflow there in Chester and York County. So you can see those storms around McConnell's, Chester, and again, a lot of cloud to ground lightning. Remember, lightning isn't one of the things that's factored into a severe thunderstorm warning, but all thunderstorms by definition have lightning in them. And lightning is a very dangerous a phenomenon. You need to be indoors when you hear thunder outside or you see lightning. That means you can be hit. And most people that get hit by lightning get hit before and after the storm because most people are smart enough to run for cover when it's raining. They don't go for cover when they just hear thunder or see lightning. So most of the lightning strikes to people occur before and after the storm because people go back outside or they don't go to shelter soon enough. And just to give you an idea of how much lightning is in that storm, we'll query the total here because it is off the charts, actually. This is only 15 minutes of lightning data, 716 cloud to ground lightning strikes just in that storm in Cabarrus County. That's in the past 15 minutes. So that's a lot of lightning. Sometimes we'll track this for, we'll track this for 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, but potentially, 15 minutes is a little bit better for the spikes in lightning that we're looking for in some of these storms. So that cloud to ground lightning is just off the charts there. So at times you might see me turn it off so that we can kind of keep an eye on the storm. So let me widen it back out, kind of show you the movement of this line of scattered storms. Again, most of them have produced damaging winds. We have seen reports of small hail in several locations, and we do have a severe thunderstorm watch, which is in effect until 9 p.m. tonight for all the counties shaded in yellow. That does include the Charlotte metro area. Now, will that last till 9? Probably not. We're probably going to see this canceled early and whittled away as that line works to the southeast. That basically means the counties to the southeast are probably going to be up until 9. The counties to the northwest will be canceled slowly as the line pushes through. So let's go back to the radar, and I'll show you what I mean. We'll widen that line out. You kind of see that big line of storms. See how it's all drifting south and east slowly but surely? That is basically going to move off towards the Charlotte area and push into areas in South Carolina through the evening. The back side of it, I don't see additional storms forming there, so that would tell me we're probably going to see things whittled down. Let's go back to the velocity data because it's showing where the strong winds are. Strong winds there in Cherokee and Union County, South Carolina. We look at the terminal Doppler radar. We still have that downburst occurring in Cabarrus County, but at times it's been going up or down with the amount of wind it's had. Right now around Cox Mill, I've got 58, 59 mile per hour winds. You're probably wondering why it's negative. That's telling me the direction of the wind. A negative number means the wind's blowing towards the radar site. Positive means it's blowing away. So a negative number doesn't mean it's a negative, basically, wind speed. It just tells you a direction. Plus and minus is away or towards the radar. In this case, the radar is over towards Mountain Island Lake. You see the beam going by right there. So anything blowing towards the radar shows up negative. There's the radar there. Just had a new warning issued, so let's go right to that warning. That is a new severe thunderstorm warning, which does include the Lake Wylie area. That's Gaston, Mecklenburg, and York County. That new warning is up until 5 p.m. So let's put a storm track on that. That one's moving basically 15 miles an hour. The storm movement today has been very, very slow. So if I do a quick storm track on that one, you can see Dixie basically over the Charlotte airport right now. Shopton 417, Lake Wylie 422. And again, don't read exactly into the precise time because if you're watching me on a stream right now, there's a little bit of delay. The radar data is delayed about 30 seconds to a minute, even though it's coming in as fast as it can because it takes a minute for the radar sweep to go around. And the storm could pick up speed or slow down. So plus or minus about 5 to 6 minutes on some of these times should give you a good idea on the time of arrival. But if you're in the path of this storm, I would go ahead and seek shelter right now as that's pushing off to the south and east at around 10 to 15 miles per hour if I had to put a gauge on it for that storm. But you can see the storm that's causing the biggest issues. It's basically right up there in Cabarrus County and Rowan County. I mean, the lightning, it's crazy the amount of lightning in that storm right now. Go the velocity, and you can see in Mount Pleasant, the winds are pretty strong as well. That's the other side of the downburst. But the strongest winds hitting the surface right now are right around the Poplar Tent and Cox Mill area there on 85. Just got an update on the radar there. Heading towards the track close to Harrisburg and Bruton Smith Boulevard there. You see it kind of on the bottom of your screen. So this is going to cause some pretty strong winds at the track as it pushes in that direction. We'll see if it produces another downburst as it kind of re-intensifies. What I've been noticing with these storms today, as I mentioned, so this storm basically right here is probably going to collapse. That outflow is going to push out a rush of cool air to the south. So in Matthews, Mint Hill area, maybe northern Union County, we're likely going to see new storms develop in that area. Those new storms are probably going to be severe, and that one in Cabarrus County will begin to weaken. So that's kind of the way the storm is basically going to be pushing off to the south and east at about 30, maybe, I don't know, the outflow looks to be moving about 30 miles per hour, and that's why you're seeing that those severe thunderstorm warnings issued right now. I'm just getting some new updates in. Let me glance over at chat real quick. Trying to see what damage reports we're getting. Just had some pea-sized hail reports coming from Gaston County. Those are the areas that we're seeing in Gaston County right now with that storm that just got warned for. So that's the storm right there, right around northern Lake Wylie. So that one just in Gastonia produced some pea-sized hail. Let me see if I can pop up the storm reports real quickly. Don't see it showing up there yet. See some wind damage reports showing up in parts of Cabarrus County.
You've had a lot of trees down in parts of Gaston County too, right?
Yeah. So that's what we're starting to see. That's that. Oh, have you seen anything? That's Brittany Van Voorhees, by the way, off camera. Have you seen anything out of Cabarrus County yet? I'm curious because that downburst going strong there right now. Still keeping an eye on that storm that's kind of bubbling up there north of Charlotte. That one near Uptown is one that we're going to have to keep an eye on because that one in particular, it formed on the outflow earlier. Just looking at some of the hail reports. So I'm getting a lot of questions. There is no rotation in any of these storms, absolutely none at all. These are all classic, what we call downburst signatures. The atmosphere is not set up for any rotational wind today. There's very what we call light wind shear. What we do have is a ton of that fuel, that thunderstorm fuel. We call it CAPE. It's the hot, humid air near the surface. And what's happening is that hot, humid air is being taken up high in the atmosphere, and it's creating cold, dry air. And that air is coming, rushing back to the ground is a downburst. So I'm just responding to people. No tornado setup at all today. All straight line winds. But there's the thing. I don't want to say just straight line winds because wind is wind. Remember, straight line winds cause about 90% of the damage in our area. And, for every damage report, 10 of them, 9 of them straight line winds. So it's really going to be straight line winds that's going to be the issue.
We did get one report near Concord, Cabarrus County, Brad. Grand Haven Drive and Orphanage Road.
Okay.
50 miles an hour.
So that's pretty close this area. The good news is looking at the signature right there, you can see that the stronger winds have weakened. But as I mentioned earlier, the thing about these storms, they will do this and then a new storm will form on the outflow. And so just to give you an idea, we'll go back to our Doppler slicer here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little different look at this thing. We're actually going to make kind of a 3D look at this. So let me see if I can draw this a little bit better. So we've got kind of a 3D look at that storm. And you can see it's pretty tall, still around 60,000 feet, but that's going to push an outflow boundary, which is likely going to produce additional storms as it drifts off to the south and east. So eventually, I would expect that we're probably going to see a new storm form eventually down here in northern Union County as that storm collapses, maybe even into parts of southern Mecklenburg County. But in Charlotte, we're starting to see some pretty good lightning, cloud-to-ground lightning in many areas. I'm going to overlook at our cameras real quick here. So I'm looking at our Monroe camera, looking at the Dallas camera, not as big of a downburst as we had earlier. There was potentially a downburst with this storm as it was moving through eastern parts of Gaston County, moving into Mecklenburg County. Right there. Yeah, I can actually see the outflow boundary showing up on that. And if you're wondering what an outflow boundary is, it's basically that rush of cool air. You probably all have experienced this when you've been close to a storm, and before the rain even gets there, you feel that big rush of wind. That's the cold air rushing out way ahead of the storm. So if we go to the velocity data down towards the Lake Wylie area, there's actually, let me see if I can draw on this a little bit better. There's actually an outflow boundary. Why is my cursor not there? It is. I'm trying to draw here. All right, I guess I can't draw for some reason. That's weird. Let me see if I could try this again. Okay, well, I guess we're not going to be able to draw on that one. So I'll use this arrow. So right here, you see this line. Basically, right in there is where we have that outflow boundary. It's rushing out of that storm. And if I loop this a couple of times, you kind of see it there. You see that rush of red? That's that rush of air being pushed out of that storm, and that's pushing to the southeast pretty quickly. So the storms themselves might be moving 10 or 15. That outflow boundary, though, seems to be moving much quicker than that. I think it's moving closer to 30 miles per hour. Let me widen this map out and we'll kind of show you. I mean, that's just, you know, you see the reds and greens, and so those are the Doppler winds showing you away or towards. You're just seeing a lot of wind being pushed out of these storms, basically like a splat. It's almost like water hitting the table. If you spill a cup of water on the table, it kind of spreads out in all directions. Well, in this case, that wind and water that's coming out of these tall storms, which are 60, 65,000 feet, is hitting the ground and spreading out in all directions. And that's what creates those damaging straight line winds. And boy, do we have a ton of that today. So let's go back and recap the warnings. We'll start from north to south. Warning number 1 is right here. I'm going to turn off the lightning. We know there's a ton of lightning, but the lightning's going to obscure our view. In fact, I'll turn the lightning on, but let me make it smaller. So maybe it'll be easier to see. We'll make it well, went the wrong direction. So we'll make it a little bit smaller. So this is severe thunderstorm warning number 1 for Alexander, Catawba, Iredell County. And again, this is pushing towards Sherrills Ford, northern part of Lake Norman, the Mooresville area, Troutman, Mount Ula area. Maine probably going to clip you. It's over Newton as well. The strongest storm that I've seen today is this one right here, and I'm actually going to have to turn the lightning off because it's just obscuring it. Just, you know, tons of lightning with this storm. Because of that lightning, you're going to want to stay inside. Don't use the shower, don't use the tub, don't use the sink, don't use any appliances that are plugged into the wall socket. Use everything that's wireless if you can, because lightning can hit the power lines, the water lines, anything, the cable line, and transfer into your house via that cable. I actually saw a picture, I think it was yesterday or the day before, of a storm, and if I'm mistaken, it was in Catawba County possibly, where the tree was hit, went down on the roots, went into the cable, and came into the person's house and caused some damage. So that's over Harrisburg. Then in Mecklenburg County, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning in the southwest part of the county. That's down near the Steel Creek area, not too far from the Prime Outlets, Top Golf area, down in that area, then heading out towards the airport, down towards Daniel Stowe Botanical Gardens there in southeastern Gaston County. This is heading towards Carowinds, Pineville. So if you got friends at Carowinds right now, or you're at Carowinds, maybe watching on your phone, you probably got about 10 minutes before this storm is on top of you. The lightning's going to be there much sooner, so hopefully they've already got people in shelter locations. Then we've got this other big cluster, which is in the western part of York County, Union County, South Carolina, Cherokee County. This is heading towards Chester County as well. I would expect that we're going to see this storm continue to get warned for. The interesting thing is, you see that outflow boundary? Here's what I'm talking about. We'll back it up. I'm going to turn the warnings off just for a second. So you see the outflow boundary here, that green line, that's the rush of cool air. I want you to watch what happens. I'm going to go, this is back at 3:46 p.m. Watch as I put this into the real time, what happens when that boundary gets the hot, humid air ahead of it. Watch what it does. It forces storms up to develop there in York and Chester County. So that's how the outflow boundary can cause new storms to develop real rapidly. And you see how those are becoming the dominant storms now, and the storm that actually produced the outflow boundary is actually beginning to weaken a little bit. So that's kind of what we've seen today, a lot of that in these storms. So I'll widen this back out. We'll loop this a couple of times just to give you a wide view of what's going on right now. Thanks, Casey. Just got a report, heavy rain, wind, and lightning from the Concord Mills area. Just got a report from John over in Belmont. Thank you. Looks like some hail fallen in that area. Just got a report the power is out at Concord Mills Mall. So that's the damage up there. I'm not surprised that we haven't seen more damage reports come out of there because the wind was no joke with that one.
Yeah, and I know that our investigative reporter, Michelle Bowden, is on a plane
Oh.
to leave Charlotte Douglas.
Is there a ground stop?
They're at a ground stop right now. So
Yeah.
reports if folks maybe have flights, they should probably with them too.
Wasn't Carolyn supposed to be on a flight right about this?
Oh yeah, I think she might be.
I think her flight's at 8. So yeah, we were kind of kidding that the timing of this is not great because if you're trying to get out of the airport, thunderstorms are always going to shut the airport down. That's just the way it is. In fact, if you had to ask me what's the worst weather for aviation and flying, it's thunderstorms.
Without a doubt.
Because basically no pilot is going to fly anywhere near a thunderstorm because of the downburst, microburst potential. That caused a lot of planes to crash in the 60s, 70s, and 80s before Doppler radar was widely available. So new warning just issued. This one's for parts of Lincoln and it looks like Catawba County. This is until 5 p.m. A small section of Cleveland County, right around Cherville, that northeastern section of Cleveland County, northwestern Gaston, southwestern part of Lincoln County. This is heading towards Lincolnton, High Shoals, Cherville, Bessemer City, the Dallas area. So if you look at it, a loop, this is a 1 hour, well, this is a 3 hour loop, sorry. Let me back this up. I want 1 hour, it's a little easier to track. So that's a 1 hour loop right there. It just kind of shows you, boom, quickly how it's drifting off to the south of this. Christian just sent me a great report from the track. He said, holy cow, and it is coming down up at the Speedway right now. Ooh, a lot of cloud to ground lightning. So it has made it to Charlotte Motor Speedway. We also know that our Concord Mills is that power, so that's just down the road. Bruton Smith Boulevard becomes Concord Mills, and so you're basically right there. So let's go to that area real quickly, and you could see the cloud to ground lightning. Let me stop this because that is moving too quick. So the area we're talking about is right in here. Looks like a flood advisory just issued for Cabarrus and Rowan County till 7. I'm not surprised because that thing's been dumping some serious rain there. So on top of that, for the first time today, we got a flash flood risk. We need the rain, just don't need it so fast. So you can see the areas. There's Poplar Tent, there's Pitt School Road. We get down closer to the Speedway, right in that area. It's just getting there. There's Bruton Smith Boulevard. The Speedway's right here. I should grab my cursor here. So the Speedway's right here, Bruton Smith here, Concord Mills is right there. So the storm is just there. Look, you go a little farther west and you're just out of it, but it's just making it to the area. And we just got reports of the power out at Concord Mills Mall. And the pictures I'm seeing from the track is pretty intense. Just saw some tree damage, looks like, coming out of Concord area. So looks like we're trickling in some of the damage reports now starting to trickle in. Let me see if we can pop them up here. Have not seen them officially reported yet, but that lightning is intense. Let's query that lightning one more time, because the lightning to me is only 15 minutes of lightning data showing up there. 812 lightning strikes in the past 15 minutes just with that one storm. That is intense. I've seen a couple thousand over a 30-minute period, but to see that in just about 15 minutes is intense. So up towards the Speedway, they're just getting absolutely clobbered. Just got a small hail report from the southwest side of Concord, 49, Highway 49 in Zion Church Road area. So thanks for that report, Erica. That's kind of the same area that I was looking at earlier, right around the Speedway. So we're getting some intense lightning there, but also now it looks like some hail along with the wind. And honestly, the wind reports probably are just trickling in now, but earlier the wind was a lot worse. I mean, I know it's coming down pretty good right now for a lot of folks there. Probably still getting 40, 50 mile an hour winds, but compared to what we were seeing earlier, the wind has actually subsided. We earlier had a 72 mile per hour wind, at least that I could see on the Doppler radar, and that was about 300 feet off the ground. Let's look at the wind speeds now in that area. So yeah, the winds are much lighter. They're still pretty strong. There's still a downburst signature going on right there. Katie just sent me some video from Concord. It is really coming down. It looks like a wet microburst just looking at the way I'm looking at it right now, that looks like a wet microburst is basically a microburst that has a bunch of rain. It's a rain-loaded downburst, so it comes down with a bunch of liquid. If you've ever visited some of the waterfalls in western North Carolina or been to Niagara Falls or big waterfalls, you know how you get to the bottom of the waterfall and there's some air rushing out because the water is actually displacing the air. It's causing wind. This happens in Mother Nature. When you get big storms like this and you get a burst of strong winds, not only do you get the winds descending because of the cold, dry air coming down, but that rain actually helps displace the air as well and will add to the wind. So you get the combination of a downburst with heavy rain, tropical rain like today, you can get some of the strongest winds around. Boy, the lightning is really picking up in Mecklenburg County. Lightning heading towards my neck of the woods down there. I've got some swim meets going on in South Charlotte today. They will probably be at least on a delay, if not canceled, because this lightning is not going to be going away for a while. And remember the 30-30 rule that you should be using for any outdoor activity. And NCAA uses this. Most of neighborhood pools and most pools should be using the 30-30 rule. And what the 30-30 rule is, you wait 30 minutes after the last cloud to ground lightning strike you see or the thunder you hear. So you see a lightning strike, you reset the 30-minute clock, and you wait until it's 30 minutes go by, and if you don't hear thunder or see lightning again, you can get back to your activity. But as soon as you hear lightning or you see lightning or hear thunder, you reset the 30-minute clock. So that's a great method to use because most times that's going to keep you safe. So there's a new warning just issued for parts of Chester County. Now, what's interesting is that storm is actually a storm that's formed on the outflow from the earlier ones. Boy, we're getting warnings left or right. So let's go to these warnings right now. New warning for Mecklenburg County till 5 o'clock, and new warning for parts of Stanley County. So Anson and Stanley County. I would just assume that any of these storms today are going to get a warning. We're probably to the point now where there's just so many warnings right now that it's easier to tell you who's not under a warning. So if you're seeing rain or hearing thunder or lightning anywhere near you, just assume that it's going to be a severe thunderstorm warning. If you're not seeing rain or thunder right now, you probably eventually will. This is actually much more widespread than when it looked like even yesterday, which is a good thing. We need the rain. It's helping to cool things down. But boy, that intense heat earlier today is driving these storms to be pretty intense. That fuel that was built up, and that's what heat and humidity is. It's like gasoline for these thunderstorms. If you can get that hot, humid air near the surface up to a part of the atmosphere where it's not hot and humid, you can create massive storms with downbursts, and that's kind of what we're seeing today. We had a capping inversion the last couple of days, which kept the risk for which kept the risk for severe storms down. But today we have not. We don't have that. We don't have that capping inversion. Basically, it was just like a cork that keeps all that energy trapped near the surface. Now we're seeing everything just go gangbusters across the area. My phone's going off like a bazillion times because I get warnings from about 3 or 4 different sources, especially when it's at my house. So now that my house is under a warning, I'm getting additional warnings. So that storm in Mecklenburg County has really come together. It's part of the same cluster that we saw up in Cabarrus County. Let's go to the velocity data. Oh yeah. I can see a downburst occurring right on 16, so Providence Road coming out of the Dilworth area. That's a pretty impressive little downburst right there. So we've got, 55 to 60 mile per hour winds right around Providence and Fairview. So not too far from, just east of South Park Mall, just coming out of areas near Sharon Amity Road. There it's moving north towards Fairview. So Fairview, as you go east from, Providence Down neighborhood right in there, heading over towards Providence Road, east of South Park Mall, and Carmel Road, where Carmel Road kind of meets up with Fairview, there's definitely a downburst. There's also a lot of big old trees in that part of Charlotte. So those are the type of trees, that, especially with the sidewalks and roads now cutting off a lot of their root balls, basically giving them less of a footprint, they're easier to topple. So those old oak trees tend to come over pretty quickly now when you get a wind like that. So that's right around areas east of South Park Mall. And then you go down towards the Carowinds area, Pineville, going into the Regent Park neighborhood, you've got some pretty strong winds as well. So that's moving into areas right around the east side of Carowinds. So real strong winds in that cell as well. as it's pushing south. And that downburst is going to be heading towards Matthews, Carmel Road area, the Arboretum, Providence Plantation. So it's near South Park to Stonehaven, and Cotswold is kind of where it's centered now, and it's drifting south. So that's right there. That's that area I'm tracking right there. We'll go in real close and get into some of these neighborhoods, and you can see areas around Crestbrook Drive, Strawberry Hill Lane, Hill Drive, excuse me, Strawberry Hill Drive goes all the way from just there to the north, all the way down south towards Sardis. Sardis Road goes off to the east. So those neighborhoods in there getting some damage likely. I think we're going to see some tree reports coming out of there. So let's go and look at the velocity data again, just to give you an idea. So to me, it looks like 45 to 55 mile-an-hour winds in that general area. And that's heading down 16, basically Providence Road, heading towards 51. So, you know, basically heading towards areas down towards Calvary Church, and eventually down towards Arboretum area, Raintree, Cedarwood area. New warning just issued, kind of a weird warning, just issued for Lancaster County, likely for the storms to the west as those storms move in. As I mentioned, you know, pretty much if you're seeing rain or you're hearing thunder or lightning, you're probably under a warning at some point. I just think there's going to be warnings for every one of these storms as they push off to the south and east. It's just really impressive line of storms. These are your classic summertime storms that have been able to tap into all of that heat and humidity today, and they are taking off. The lightning has just been intense. Let's look at the lightning again, because not only the storm near Cabarrus County, which had like 900 lightning strikes in 15 minutes, now we're looking at lightning strikes coming in, you know, fast and furious here. So that box I'm drawing on the map, you see that big red box? I'm actually showing all the lightning strikes within that box. So 1,960 lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes. So I told you sometimes I've seen 2,000 in 30 minutes. To see almost 2,000 in 15 minutes is really impressive. It's been a while since we've seen a lightning strikes like that. Negative and positive strikes. Positive strikes are a little bit stronger. They're usually about 10 times stronger. They last 10 times longer. They come from the top of the thunderstorm, so they unload a much bigger charge. And because they last so long, they tend to cause house fires and cause a lot of damage. Those are the dangerous ones. Negative strikes are usually the majority of our lightning strikes. They tend to form lower in the cloud, and they're just as dangerous. But the positive ones are the ones that cause house fires, forest fires, and are the ones that are killers. Those are the ones you're dangerous. And I always look at the positive versus negative just to see if there's a spike in positive. We know we're getting some lightning from the top of this storm, which usually happens when we have rapid intensifying storms, the updrafts going high up. We're getting ice to form really rapidly, and so we're getting strikes from the top of that storm. And just to give you an idea on how tall these storms are, because I've been just really blown away about how tall these are today. We'll go to the Doppler slicer and kind of show you these storms because they have been jumping up, still jumping up close to 60,000 feet. That is really impressive. Let's drag this down here. These are getting around 50,000 feet, but that line right there, I'm gonna put it right there and we'll zoom in. So the top line here is 60,000 feet, and if you look carefully, you're getting a lot of these peaks getting up there around 50, and then a couple of these getting close. These are overshooting tops, which is these Cumulonimbus Clouds, kind of look like mushroom clouds from a distance. They're giant anvils, and sometimes at the top, this overshooting top will get up into the stratosphere. And when that happens, you tap into some crazy, crazy amount of wind. I can actually hear the thunder here at the station now. So it's really starting to come down here in Mecklenburg County. So let's recap real quickly for those joining the stream. We're live streaming this now. We're USGA Golf is currently on WCNC until 5 o'clock. We'll be on WCNC and online at 5 o'clock. Right now, we're primarily online. Severe thunderstorm watch for all those counties shaded in yellow until 9 p.m. But what I think is going to happen, and I'm pretty safe in saying this, is I think once this first line moves through, we're likely going to see those counties to the northwest kind of whittled away, and we'll see new storms pushing to the south and east, and probably 9 o'clock will be the storms to the southeast of us, or the county southeast of us that see it. So let's take a quick look outside from our Dallas camera. This is looking back towards Charlotte. You can see it is coming down. That's Spencer Mountain in the foreground. Kind of cool little low clouds there forming near the surface. It's kind of cool to see that. Those are sometimes referred to as Fracas Clouds or scud clouds that are down there low, but you can actually see those coming off of the tops of the trees down there. And you will see that, you see this in the mountains sometimes. Right down here, these are little tiny clouds that are forming on the treetops. There's so much moisture down here that any kind of little lift is creating a cloud. That's Spencer Mountain right there, and uptown Charlotte is right behind this guy wire. It's just on the edge of the screen right there. So you're looking south and east there from our camera over in Dallas, which is in northern Gaston County. So we were looking back towards this storm right now, which is in Mecklenburg County, severe thunderstorm warning until 5 p.m. And just when I widen out, you see all the severe thunderstorm warnings. I'm going to turn the lightning off. We know there's a ton of lightning, but the lightning is so dense on the map, it's covering up the storms. There's a look at the storms drifting off to the south and east right now. The speed looks to be I'm looking at about 15 miles per hour, so pushing off to the southeast at around 15 miles per hour. But I think some of these storms are actually picking up speed right now as they're drifting off to the southeast closer to about 30. So I think the speed's picking up. If I look at the speed again, let me look at the radar estimates here. So the radar has it about 10 to 15, but I actually think it's closer to 30 in some cases when you see how fast those are moving. There's the movement right now. So Rock Hill, you're not under a warning yet, but don't be surprised if you get a warning here shortly. Actually, I'm going to check because I'm looking at right around Pineville. Looks like a downburst. The little downburst forming right there. Notice I'm talking about. That's right over my neighborhood. So I can actually pull up my. So I got a 58 mile an hour wind right there. Let me look at what my gauge is saying at the house. I'm checking my wind speed. It's at a gust of 40 currently. Ooh, now a gust of 50. So right in that area, I can pull up my camera real quick from there. Let's see. One of my cameras is down, so we'll have to bring up a different camera. So that's a look right now. Right there, south side of town. Ooh, there's a lightning strike. Get caught briefly on camera there. Looks like pretty good wind. You see the trees wobbling around quite a bit. So the wind speeds we're getting right there right now look to be jumping to about 40. So let me go and show you that downburst because it looks like that's right heading towards Pineville right now, near Carolina Place Mall. That's the area we're talking about right in here, and you can see those bright returns. Atrium Hospital, Pineville, right in that area. Going to cross 485 here and head towards Ballantyne. Let me query this real quick. So we've got pretty strong winds. Park Crossing right there, Carmel Road, 521 going, Johnston Road going south, heading towards 485. So those winds are pushing in that direction right now, and they're heading down 521. So that's a downburst right there. That's going to cause damage. So we're likely seeing some damaging winds occurring with that cell, the leading edge of that. That's heading into the panhandle of Lancaster County, so a pretty good bet. That's why the warning was issued way ahead of time. Also got strong winds moving into Mint Hill. Let's go over to Mint Hill right now, looking at some really strong winds right there near Lawyers Road. This was an area that had some damage the other day from a downburst. I think that was last week, or was it early in the week? It was last week, right before the heat wave started. So we've got some 60 mile per hour winds. That's basically right there south of Davis Road. Lawyers Road is running right here. So Wilson Grove Road on the west side, and then heading towards Nelson Road. So this is going to head towards Pineville Matthews Road where it meets up with Lawyers Road. That's an area that we're probably going to see some damage as well. So this is the west side of Mint Hill. Damaging winds, heading in that direction. So just the heads up there, if you're in those areas, you're going to want to make sure you're seeking shelter in the interior home. I wouldn't go to your tornado safe spot in this case, but when we have winds like this, you want to stay away from the windows and get towards the middle of the house because tree branches or something could break that window. You don't want debris, so I would definitely get towards the middle of the house. Don't have to put the helmet on and get to the shelter location, but middle of the house is great. Also, pretty strong winds now showing up south of Locust, heading into northern Union County. So this is the southeastern part there of Cabarrus County, that southwestern part of Stanley, and then northern parts of Union County. So that area is getting some really strong winds right now. So if we go and look at the wind speeds there, let me pull up our query again. Yeah, we've got, so same kind of speeds. You're seeing these consistently. Now, severe winds are considered 58 miles an hour or higher, but anytime I see 50 plus, remember the radar is only sampling a part of this. You're likely getting stronger winds than that. Looks like Mint Hill downburst is getting a little stronger. Let's go over there real quick. So right there around Mint Hill, you can see that downburst right there, just upticked in intensity right there. So well above 60. And again, this is right around Lawyers Road and Mint Hill. So you're looking at areas near Pine Lake Lane, Beaver Drive, Quail Ridge Road, Hollow Oak Drive, Stony Meadow Drive. Those areas are where we're seeing a downburst occurring right now. So if you're in the interior section of your home there, stay away from the windows. Make sure the kids are indoors. So new warning for that line now as it moves into Union County. So that is a new severe thunderstorm warning, which is now in effect. Let me see what time does that go to. That looks like it's going to be in effect until 5:15, is that? 5:15, okay, yeah. So 5:15 for that warning. That new warning is for Cabarrus, Mecklenburg, and Union County until 5:15. So yeah, basically I would count on all these storms being warned for as they move to the southeast. I don't see any inclination that they're going to be weakening anytime soon. Just looking at some of the reports, again, a lot of shelf clouds out there. Shelf clouds in particular look ominous, and it's usually a sign of really strong straight line winds, and that's what we're seeing. Got some modest clouds, which are really cool on the backside of these storms, so you tend to see that quite a bit in some of these storms. And again, you know, there's no tornado winds in here, but the wind's wind. I mean, we got 50, 60, and sometimes 70 mile an hour winds in Cabarrus County. You know, you get those wind speeds, it's going to cause damage to trees and power lines in particular, but you can rip shingles off a roof, you can blow debris around. In some cases, depending on the structure, you can blow a roof off a house, especially light structures like sheds, carports, those type of things. Barns tend to be more susceptible. So, you know, you could take these winds seriously, but we don't have any signals of tornadoes out there because the atmosphere, frankly, is just not set up for tornadoes. There's not much wind shear today, and everything on the radar is straight out. It's what we call outflow dominant, which is telling me we're getting winds coming down from atop the storm, hitting the ground and spreading out in all locations. And these downbursts or microbursts, you know, can cause more severe damage, believe it or not, than we see in some, you know, tornadoes. And, you know, how a wet microburst forms, I'll show you real quickly. At a day like today, we've had this hot, humid air lifted up, and it's cold and dry up there. You know, we've taken 95, 96 degree air near the surface with dew points in the 70s. We've taken it up to a part of the atmosphere where it's 20, 30, and in some cases 40 below zero when you get up there around 50,000 feet in Celsius, and you're dropping that temperature and freezing ice, water into ice. You're creating cold, dry air that once it then come crashing back to the ground, and when it hits the ground, it spreads out in all directions. Comes down with a bunch of rain as well, and this is what causes our microbursts. Now, microbursts, you know, are what we call a small downburst. Here's another example. It's very localized. It could be winds of 40 to 150 miles per hour, believe it or not. Some of the strongest winds I've seen in some microbursts have been around 110 to 125 here locally. A microburst is about 2.5 miles in diameter. If it's bigger than that, it's called a macroburst. And planes, as I mentioned, this is why there's so many delays at the airport in thunderstorms. You don't want to be anywhere near these. So a macroburst is 2.5 miles in diameter or bigger. A microburst is smaller than that. And remember, tornadoes usually a couple yards, 20, 30 yards wide, maybe a football field around here. These are 2.5 miles wide and bigger. So they cause more damage. They're just big, it's a bigger area to keep an eye on. And that's what we're seeing today, a lot of downburst and microburst. The lightning though is just crazy. Haven't seen lightning like this in a long time. And that's an indication. New severe thunderstorm warning. That looks like that's for eastern York County. So the Rock Hill area, we were talking about how you weren't under a warning. Well, you are now. And down into Chester County. So Richburg, Fort Lawn, Great Falls under that warning as well. I'm just looking at some of the reports coming in. Just getting a lot of heavy wind and rain reports. So on my Twitter feed, thanks everybody on Twitter who's watching, on YouTube, Facebook, Amazon, Roku, on our app, wherever you're watching. Getting some great reports coming in. Of a lot of damage. So we're starting to see a lot of wind damage, trees, power lines. The hail reports have not been as frequent as earlier, but there has been some hail out there. I will tell you the hail size has been, pretty small. I would not say that hail is our #1 concern, though there could be some hail, and anytime you get wind-driven hail, that can cause some damage, but the hail size has been pretty small. One of the benefits of it being so hot and humid today, even when you get hail to form in the top of this storm, it melts a lot on the way down because it's moving into some really warm, humid air. Just looking at some of the wind speeds down in South Charlotte, did get a pretty significant spike there. I'm actually looking to see what that jumped, up to about 45 miles per hour. So that was near Pineville, not too far from the Atrium Hospital there in Pineville. And not too far. Matt just sent me some hail on Independence and Conference Drive. Thanks, Matt. That's an area where we have, and I'll take the lightning off because the lightning's crazy. So it's basically right in here we're starting to see on Independence and Conference Drive. Not surprised. Let me look at the tops of these things again because these tops have been, yeah, turn the lightning off, just too much lightning here. So let's look how big this thing is. So yeah, we're getting up there, still around 45 to 50,000 feet. Most of these storms. This one looks a little bit bigger here in Mecklenburg County. Let me move the map over. That one's around 45, 50,000 feet. Let me redraw this. That's around Rock Hill. So the storm near Rock Hill seems to be spiking up there. So I'm dragging our Doppler slicer across here just to see where the higher tops are occurring. And again, you've seen a general 40 to 50,000 feet. That's really tall up. I mean, that is way up there today. To see storms getting that tall definitely tells you you're getting some downburst types damage today. So let's go back to our Doppler velocities here. Gotta delete this real quick. And one area in particular that I want to keep an eye on. Excuse me, our radar got stuck there for a second. So one area in particular is this part of the storm, which is the one that produced the downburst in Cabarrus County. We're getting some really strong winds moving into northern Iredell County. So Union County, moving out of Cabarrus and Stanley County. So right there near New Salem, Unionville area, home to the famous barbecue there in Unionville. Heading south, you can see the winds getting close to 70. So heads up in Watson and New Salem, those winds right there, those are heading your way. That's going to rush out. So Watson, Unionville, probably north and east side of Monroe as well. I'm actually going to go over to our Monroe camera here and see if we can't see this. So bear with me. I'm off camera right now, but I'll still talk to you guys here as we kind of keep an eye on this storm. I'm going to move our Monroe camera. See if we can't get a good look at this. So we've got two cameras in Monroe. We're keeping an eye on the storm as it's moving through northern parts of Union County, moving towards the north, moving to the southeast, at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. So trying to get this camera to move. So let me see. We lost connection with that camera, so I'll try it one more time. So again, this severe thunderstorm warning in northern Union County has 70-mile-per-hour winds in it right now. Let's see if we can't stop it. It is not connecting for some reason. I think we lost it. It looks like it took a power hit maybe. So we'll try the other camera. Yep, we lost the Monroe camera. So clearly got a power hit out there somehow. But the storm I'm tracking is right there on the screen. It's in northern part of Union County. So Monroe is right there. That's up towards Unionville, towards the New Salem area. That's drifting south and east. Also a pretty good little downburst signature there east of Rock Hill. But I tell you what, this storm, southwestern part of Stanley County, southeastern Cabarrus County, right there, that is producing 70-mile-per-hour winds. Looks like just got another warning there. So let's go right to that warning. So that's a new severe thunderstorm warning for Gaston, Mecklenburg County until 5:30. So that's a new severe thunderstorm warning. That cell is east of 321, heading towards Charlotte. So that one is pushing out of Charlotte, heading towards the east at around 15 miles per hour. So that's a whole new warning pushing to the east right now. And so we're tracking that line, all pushing to the south and east right now. So for everybody watching on our stream right now, what we're going to do is we're going to drop out temporarily. We're going to be on TV on WCNC, but we're going to have the stream going as well. If you're watching our stream right now on our app, on WCNC.com, on Roku, Amazon, I believe even on YouTube, you can pick it back up right there. So if you don't have the WCNC app right now, it's a good time to go download it. But we're going to be changing from our online coverage to our on TV coverage. We'll still be online, but we've got to jump on TV as well. So coming up here at 5 o'clock. So we'll be on from 5 to 6:30. So again, severe thunderstorm warnings continue for most of the area. That line of storms is moving off to the southeast fairly quickly. Much needed rain, but a lot of wind and lightning pushing through. And again, numerous severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for the next hour. We'll continue our coverage coming up on WCNC and WCNC.com, as well as all our streaming services. We'll see you there.